Welcome back. We can now turn our attentions to the first race of the Radical Club Cup of the weekend. Have a look back at the highlights of that race again. It was held on the Saturday and therefore was in very, very wet conditions indeed. The red car of Colin Miller sat there on pole position with Paul Steele alongside him, and as the lights went out and they charged up towards Ritchie's for the first corner, you can see it was Paul Steele, car number 75, that took the early advantage as Colin Miller, the pole sitter, tumbled down through the order. We're right on board with Chris Hillaby. He was sat there in our camera car and had managed to hoist himself up to the front 2 or 3 places as they charged into the S's for the first time. But it was Paul Steele that still continued to lead until Chris Hillaby pulled a great move up the inside under braking at the S's and took the lead of the race away. You can see just how heavy the rain was beating down, and Chris Hillaby used that in the early stages very much to his advantage to pull away from Darren Luke in his new car for 2010, who sat there in second position, and Colin Miller made it up to third. Steve Burgess, however, spun his way out of the top 8 all over the grass at Russell, and he would rejoin but would have tumbled down through the order and lost a few places as a result of that transgression. Darren Luke still paddling his way through the puddles as he turned through Ritchie's corner, and he was still sitting there in second position. Colin Miller was, before too much longer, about to take that away from him. There was a spin also for Gary Kane in the middle of the race. He parked the car right on the apex down at Russell, managed to get the car off and moving again, but again, the race wasn't going the way he would have wished. Car number 26, which was the car in the hands of Mark Boot, had a spin coming out of the S's. He managed to rotate through 160 degrees and just about got the car pointing in the right direction before he was gobbled up by a whole host of cars trying to feed their way through. And then the turning point in the race. Mark White is about to be lapped by Chris Hillaby. Chris Hillaby just took a second too long to feed his way through, and the charging Colin Miller, who started on pole position but had dropped down through the order, managed to squeeze his way through and gain the lead of the race. James Abbott, son of co-founder of Radical Sports Cars, managed to head towards the grass as well. He would rejoin the race, but the reigning champion from the 2009 Club Cup, the man from Ballymena in Northern Ireland, was going to claim another win. Colin Miller, having taken the lead of the race a few laps ago, charged towards the line, and he claimed honours in our first very wet race of the Radical Club Cup of the weekend. Chris Hillaby was second, and Simon Fish completed the top 3. We can also look back at the highlights for the second race, of which the first lap about to be completed, and well, Simon Fish certainly didn't flounder off the start. He took the early lead in the race, but was being chased very hard by Colin Miller, who was there in second position, and you can see just how difficult the conditions continue to be. It is a 4-race weekend for the cars here in the Radical Club Cup at Snetterton this weekend. Simon Fish was there and was still leading despite the pressure that was being applied by Colin Miller in second position, and Darren Luke was fighting his way there in third, and all of a sudden Colin Miller's car just stopped as he was coming out of Ritchie's corner, and he pulled the car off onto the inside of the circuit behind the marshal's post at Sear. So Simon Fish still remained in the lead of the race. Darren Luke was trying to hunt him down in second position, with Steve Burgess there in third place. And there was a good fight that was going on for 4th and 5th place as well. That was Nigel Place fighting away with Paul Steele for the final couple of places inside the top 5. Simon Fish came under pressure though from Darren Luke as the race wore on. Darren Luke eventually squeezing through up the inside at Ritchie's corner, and those new wet tyres that he'd bought for this race certainly proving that they were worth the investment. He took the lead of the race, and from taking it then started to pull away all of the time. Further down through the field, car number 40, which was in the hands of Mark White, was still finding his way through the circuit and ultimately into the pit lane with problems. There were, however, no problems for our race leader. That was still in the hands of Darren Luke. However, the man behind, Simon Fish, made a mistake coming into the S's, spun the car through 180 degrees, had to point it back round in the right direction. He remained in second place, however, because Steve Burgess wasn't quite able to sneak the place away from him. Darren Luke ultimately coming through and taking the race victory. Steve Burgess did manage to slot through into second place at the expense of Simon Fish, who slipped to third. So the third race about to get underway, and problems for Colin Miller. He brings the car down the pit lane. That car, following its retirement in the second race, has had a new engine put in it overnight. So after the installation lap, the mechanics just diving underneath to have a look. Darren Luke and Steve Burgess sit there on the front row of the grid. There's a little bit of creeping from the red car of Rachel Davis on the second row. The lights go out and they charge off the start-finish line as we ride on board with race leader Darren Luke, the man who's already taken a victory so far this season. You can see the conditions still damp, but not as bad as they were in the 2 races that we saw yesterday. Darren Luke feeds the car through Richie's corner. It's a new car for him this season. The 38-year-old from Droitwich Spa heads out of Sear Corner. Somebody running very wide indeed. That looks like that's Paul Steele in 3rd position. A great start from him if it is, because he started 11th on the grid and has really made good progress just over the first couple of corners. Down the Revit straight they go. Car number 24, Chris Hillaby. We saw him with our onboard camera car earlier on in the weekend. And there goes Steve Burgess in 2nd place, the man from Nottingham. In the light blue Radical SR3. Simon Fish pushed over onto the grass, I think, there by Paul Steele. He shortcuts the S's and will rejoin, not having compromised his pace particularly at all. Darren Luke still pressing on in lead the race. Steve Burgess there in 2nd. And where is the battle for 3rd? Well, everybody queuing up to be 3rd at the moment. Paul Steele in 3rd place with Rachel Davis and Simon Fish. Adding to that car number 4, which is in the hands of Mark Abbott. He's come through from right down through the field and has made very good progress in the early stages of this one. Out of Russell, they all feed their way. With number 6, that's Nigel Place, hot on the heels of 27, Ray Woolhead. Ray Woolhead in his first season of racing and is embroiled in this fabulous battle as they complete another lap over the start-finish line. They all go. Darren Luke still continuing to lead the race overall. He also leads the Pro Sport class, which caters for the Radical PR6 and the Club Sport. They're powered by the either 1000 or 1300cc Suzuki engines and produce around about 200 to 210 brake horsepower. There goes Rachel Davis, car number 5. She's inside the top 5 currently. She's in the Super Sports class, a Radical SR3 that she's at the wheel of. Again, they have the Suzuki engine, either the 1300 or 1500cc, and certainly the cars with the 1500cc engine producing somewhere between 250 and 260 brake horsepower. At the inside of Simon Fish she goes, tries to gain a place. She's right alongside Simon Fish and should make it count as they head through the bomb hole this time through. Position gain for Rachel Davis. Simon Fish losing a place. So he's now got directly behind him Mark Abbott, car number 4. That's the ex-Jonathan Wright car from last year. Jonathan Wright, a former champion in the club class. He was runner-up last year. Through Russell once more they go. Rachel Davis with her hands very full indeed. There goes number 4, Mark Abbott. Managing to sneak through, and ahead of him actually now is Ray Woolhead, the 43-year-old from Holmfirth. And there's problems for, I think that's Paul Steele that's gone off the circuit. He's gone off at Richie's corner, a long way off into the field. Hopefully he'll manage to get some adhesion. The grass still very wet indeed, and hopefully once Paul Steele gets his way back up onto the circuit, he'll be able to wrestle the positions, because surely he's tumbled down outside the top 10. There goes car number 1, Colin Miller, the reigning champion, who of course started from the very rear of the field following those problems in the second race of the weekend and a new engine having been put in. There's black and white flags also going out. Car number 27 is Ray Woolhead, so there's question marks over some of his driving antics around the circuit. There was also a further black and white flag for number 5, which is Rachel Davis. So perhaps curb cutting or something around the circuit, and therefore if they continue to do it, the black and white will become a black flag, and that will spell the end of their race. Colin Miller still trying to feed his way through the order at the moment. He's in the Radical SR3 RS. Here comes Chris Hillaby up the inside of Nigel Place, trying to gain a place. They're fighting for positions just at the very bottom of the top 10 currently. And Chris Hillaby for the moment has made that one stick, car number 24. 50-year-old from Hertford still pressing on. Here comes Colin Miller trying to gain a place on 95. That's the hotelier who we've only ever seen racing in Radicals, that being Richard Stables, and Colin Miller I think is trying to draw alongside him on the brakes. Chris Hillaby still going very well indeed, car number 24. He's hot on the heels of Mark Abbott in that ex-Jonathan Wright car. Further down through the field, car number 39, that's Paul Marsham in his Radical SR3. He's battling away with Tim Porter as the dry line's now starting to appear here at Snetterton. We'll head for a break. Join us in a few moments.